we begin another series of training. It's a continuous training. As I always tell my students, we are human beings. We are a learning institution. We learn from the great to the great. Every day we learn. And in that person, we improve and evolve. We are preparing again for election. It's a 5-year national ritual to which all of us have a stake. All of us have a stake. A government is you. It's ours. Unfortunate thing, we cannot really sometimes talk to our government. But otherwise, government is us. And all those who work in government are your servants. Even in Latin, ministry means a servant. But before I begin, before I continue, we must observe our tradition in Gambia. Let us pray. So that God on this meeting for the glory of God and for the benefit of Gambians. You all have a very vital part to play, and you will be called upon very soon to discharge that duty. So let us first pray. I'm not going to take up a lot of the time because this is not a training session for me, neither is it my class, my journalism class. Everybody knows Mr. Jallo talks a lot. I talk a lot, not because of anything, because we want to pass as much of the knowledge we possess to the next generation. We owe it to you people. But one thing I want to stress here and now, before I hand over the mic to other people, I want you to understand the relationship between the press and government. I said earlier on, you are government, government is you. But then, there is a contested ground between government and the press. And this contested ground is the public. Your duty is to inform and educate the public. And as long as that is your duty, there is always a tendency of conflict between the press and government. What is happening right now has happened before, and it will happen again. Let no man fool you. What we are trying to do is to mitigate the circumstances. It happened in the First Republic. It happened in the Second Republic. Whether it's going to happen again in the Third Republic will depend on the captains of the media industry and government leadership. Between them, they can work out a compromise and make things easy for the press and for the government. One thing is certain. The press has come of age, as far as the Gambia is concerned. It's admirable. It's commendable. In our time, compared to your time, it's a vast difference. But we are proud to say you are now standing on the shoulders of giants. I'm not saying that we were giants, but we all benefited from the evolution of the Gambia, from the evolution of our society. So we owe it to our society, you owe it to our society, to discharge your responsibility without fear or favor, affection or ill will, to borrow the constitutional phraseology. That's a very difficult task. That's a very difficult task facing you, objectivity. In your reporting, I will underline one area before I hand over. It constitutes the weaknesses or weakness of the press in the Gambia. It is not your fault, but it is the fault of poverty in the media. As long as our media is not financially independent, it will be dependent. I am now referring to embedded journalists covering elections. I have seen them. I spent over 40 years in the media, so nobody is telling me anything. I was there. I am still there. I have seen people, because their media houses could not afford to send them on coverage. They depend on the goodwill of parties and party militants who provide them transport and everything. In the end, what's happened? They become almost spokesperson of parties. That's very sad. That's not their duty. That's why I said, and I always repeat to my journalism class, journalists should be able to stand above the emotions of the moment. That's a very difficult challenge, but we are all human beings. And unfortunately, in the Gambia, it's a small society. We are interlinked. We are interrelated. So for that reason, I will implore you people to take note of this situation. This situation are above you as an individual journalist. It's above probably your media houses, because probably they didn't see the weaknesses in the system. But be objective. Yours is to be objective. You are not a participant, but an observer, par excellence. I'm sure in this workshop, you will benefit from the knowledge of people who have with vast experience. Already I see them on the high table. Listen carefully. Take note, ask questions. This is how you can equip yourself and arm yourself in the encounter you are about to face very soon, next week. But I expect that the press will always acquit itself. It has done so in the past. It will do so now, and even in the future. We, the old doyen, or whatever you call us, we are really proud of you. We have seen you struggle. We have seen the press suffer, hideously too. Some paid with the highest price. Some were assassinated. Some were exiled. Some disappeared. But still, the press continued, and still continue to play its part and its role. So, on that note, I will hand over to Mr. John Jai for a keynote address. Mr. Jai is the CSO Coalition Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable a doyen of journalism in this country, household name, the President of Gambia Press Union, my good brother, Sana, the coordinator, founder of My Media, distinguished journalists, ladies and gentlemen. These days I am beginning to move away from writing speeches because sometimes I feel you write speeches, you get far removed from the people you are addressing. So now I prefer to be speaking from my heart, and what my heart tells me at the moment is what I would share. As the distinguished gentleman, Mr. 𝐓𝐶 𝐅𝐫𝐞𝐝, also, 𝐶𝐞 𝐅𝐫𝐞𝐝, and former administrator at the GPU, has said, yes, the training is good. And if I look around and I look at journalism in this country, I know we have come a long way. But beyond the training, it is your personal development that is also key. How much time you take on your own as a journalist to read, to research, to investigate. A journalist must be very inquisitive. You must ask the necessary questions. Today, and if you're following the news, especially in the United States, something sad has happened in the space of 2 years. In the run-up to the elections of 2020 in the United States, there was some news that was leaked out to the press that the son of the potential president is engaged in some dubious dealings. Members of the press decided to take sides, cover the story, call it a Russian hoax, call it that this was a propaganda. People that were angry with Donald Trump said it was Donald Trump sending false information and misinformation. 18 months down the line, now the news is coming that the information about the son of the current president of the United States is true. Journalists are not humble enough to say, yes, we got it wrong. Now they want to bone-face the public and say, yes, it's now that we are able to authenticate the information. Like Mr. Jallo said, you cannot afford to be partisan. A journalist must be above board when it comes to integrity because people believe in you. It is the same with us for civil society. You cannot be in civil society, you cannot be a journalist and be efficient and be respected if you are partisan. You are taking sides. I am yellow, I am gray, I am blue. No. Because when you do that, you lose integrity. The people that stand for truth are more than the people that stand for falsehood. And truth always comes out at the top. So if you decide to be compromised, like he rightly said, you go for transport reform from a political party, they will obviously give you a story to cover. After some time, you begin to wear their colors, whether physically or in your reporting. And in 2017, I remember, when the change came, everybody was saying, yes, it's good that the dictator has gone. And objectivity was thrown out of the window. Nobody, or very few journalists, held this coalition government in check. Because some people were beginning to look for favors, look for jobs. And today, sadly so, you look around. How many journalists are still standing with their heads high in integrity in this country? You young journalists, do not jeopardize the present or eat the fruits of the future on the table of the present. Wait for your time. Do what is right. With the training or without the training, stand in integrity. Stand for the truth, because truth will ultimately set you free. And if you stand on the side of truth, I can tell you, you have nothing to lose. People will get angry with you today. They will call you opposition pawn tomorrow. They will call you ruling party pawn today. But one day, they will look and say, if there is any journalist that stands in integrity, it is that young man, it is that young lady. And you can do it. Because you see, I say we are so-called religious nation, but we are a very dubious people. Truth is now relative, depending on what party color you wear. And we see what has happened in 5 years in this country. People that took one side because of partisan interest are now beginning to see that it is only truth that sets you free. Because when the tables turn and the things that you stood for are against you, then you begin to blame. Don't be like that. In these coming elections, go out, ask the necessary questions, and stand upon the solid rock of your integrity. I can tell you 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, we will be able to look as a nation and say, these guys stand for truth. In closing, I will share with you a little story about something someone said about me some time back. I was giving a talk at the OIC Conference Center, the Sadauda Conference Center, and the person said to me after I finished, Mr. Njai Ma'aha. So I said, for what? He said, no, Balal Ma'aha. And then he said, you intervened in the Kanifing municipality issue. And when I saw you, I wrote something on social media that you people are not fair, you are not objective, you know, you are taking sides. He said, but today I listened to you. I know you are a man of truth. Because when you spoke, I know you are an objective person. So forgive me. What I'm trying to say is, do not worry about what people say about your reporting. Today they will call you APRC because maybe you have reported on the truth and it somehow favors APRC. Tomorrow they will call you NPP because it favors NPP. They can also call you UDP because the story favors UDP. But as long as you stand on the rock of truth, one day they will look back and say, we know that you are not siding with anybody. You are just siding with the truth and you are doing your work in the interest of the greater good and the public. That's when you will be respected. So, in this training, beyond this training, purpose in your heart that you will be men and women of integrity, so that the doyens that have gone ahead of you can look back and be proud that at least they have laid the foundation for proper and efficient journalism in this country. And remember, there are people that have died standing for truth. You have nothing to lose. We all have a hereafter. Good enough this year, Christians and Muslims are all in Ramadan and Lent together. Maybe it is a sign that it is time for us to have a good reflection as a country. Where do we want our country to be? And you and I have a role to play. Let's not allow our children to wake up and slap us on our faces, or maybe give us a Will Smith because we have not done what we were supposed to do. With this, I wish you well in your training. God bless you. God bless our beautiful country, the Gambia, and keep doing the good work you're doing. I'm sure one day your reward will be certain. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njai. For that statement. I look at you people not only as colleagues, but as front line to our national agenda and our national development program. You carry the greater load. I attended in Mali, under Waja, the Media High Council. We were tasked to take a hard look at the failure of the media in Sierra Leone and in Liberia during the conflict. What we discovered, after 3 days of hard inquiry, what dawned to us was a total moral failure of the press. Both the press in Sierra Leone and in Liberia turned to be spokesperson of warlords. It was broken up into tribes. This is what I wanted to say about tribe and tribalism. Tribalism has been described in Africa as the greatest killer next to General Mosquito. 4,000 Africans die every year from malaria. The next killer is tribalism. It happened in Liberia, it happened in Sierra Leone. 1,000 people had to die. You have to understand that. Our democracies in Africa, they are not only young, they are very fragile. And I have to stress this thing over and over. You are writing for Gambia and Gambians. And to be very good, to be a good journalist, you have to have an in-depth knowledge of your own country. You are not reporting for London or Washington. Your constituency is the Gambia. You have to understand that. When the Rwandan president was assassinated by bringing down his plane, 800,000 Hutus and Tutsis died. 800,000. When Kennedy was shot in America, only one person, his supposed killer, Lee Harvey Oswald, was shot. Just imagine that. In Africa, 800,000 people had to die. In America, only one person had to die for the president. So this shows tribalism at work, and it's a very dangerous element in our African society. I'm always worried, and I tell Sana, thank God you have people like Sana. When I listen to social media is not doing a good work for our society. It's not doing a good service for our society. They are very irresponsible, and they are not journalists. They are joined the list because they have never been trained. They have never been trained. And people like that are what we call loose cannons in our society. So I hope and pray that you will not emulate, just publish and be damned, that type of attitude. It has no place in our society, and in fact, in our little Gambia, for that matter. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now hand over to Mr. Bah. I hope he's not been knocked down by the fasting. So, for a solidarity statement, Mr. Bah.
Thank you very much, Uncle 𝐶 𝐞, a legend, a doyen in the journalism fraternity, and good morning to another legend, mentor, Mr. Nana Gray Johnson, and good morning to Sana Kamara, and my brother, Mr. John Charles Nyai, the chairman of Tango, and good morning, comrades. This training is very important and timely. I think looking at the National Assembly election, which is just, I can say, tomorrow is the last day, and then on Saturday, they're having the election. And we know, and yesterday I was privileged to also speak in another occasion. I told them that I believe this National Assembly election is a test for the Gambia. It's a test in the sense that our democracy is fragile, like we have a fragile democracy. And we indeed need a very vibrant and progressive parliament to strengthen that democracy. But we cannot have that vibrant and progressive parliament without the media doing its work as expected. Because the media plays a very important role in sensitizing the masses, in sensitizing the public, in order to help the public to make informed decisions, informed choices. So it is important for the media to understand the fact that, or their importance, in ensuring that people make the right decisions, not based on tribe or based on partisan lines, but based on the right decisions that they make, people who they can entrust their votes, and people who will ensure that government is held to account. So this is a great test because this is the 6th legislative, or legislature rather. So it is important for the media to ensure that the information is disseminated. Candidates are put under scrutiny. The media to ensure that, because some of the media houses, I've seen QTV and other media houses, creating a platform where they promote divergent and dissenting opinion, bringing different candidates and asking them relevant questions. I've seen the political debate also through the Paradise TV and other TVs and radios doing the same thing. I think these are the things that we need, because we've seen during the presidential election, the EU report, their final observatory report, has stated that some media were seen to be biased. Some were even giving 90-something% with the incumbent or on one party. Others, they were not even trying to strike a balance, which was so bad, I believe. So looking at that, I believe we have to improve as media personnel. I think Uncle Cherno made mention of it. John Charles also reiterated the same comment. Another issue I want to talk about is abiding by the electoral laws. During the presidential election, we've seen media flouting electoral laws. During the public scrutiny, during the cooling off day, which is tomorrow, and that was on the 3rd of December during the presidential election. But this time is tomorrow. I just want to remind the media and everyone that we have to respect the electoral laws. They said no campaign material, or no one should use any platform to campaign. This is the law, the Election Act. It is important the media to ensure that we also abide by the dictate of the law. Because the other time it happens, 2 of the media houses were found wanted. I don't just want to mention names.
Maybe you should.
Anyway,
Maybe you should. That's the point.
yeah,
Maybe
probably,
you should.
probably. Yeah, so what happened is I had to intervene to ensure that, I had discussion with the IC because they wanted to revoke their accreditation, and which would have been very dangerous during the election day, and it would have been a commotion, a big confusion and stuff. So we don't really want that thing to repeat itself. Media, you should also abide by the law. And we are talking about peaceful election safety of journalists is very important. The GPU is conducting series of training. We are doing ongoing trainings on safety of journalists, which is very important. Journalists should ensure their safety. Do risk assessment before you go to any coverage. Be ethical. The 𝐏𝐞 𝐅𝐫𝐞𝐝 Code of Ethics is here. I always repeat that. Our doyen, the Code of Ethics, which was named after him. Let's utilize this code of conduct to ensure that we are not biased, we are balanced, we are ethical, because if you are not ethical, you're putting yourself in trouble. If you are biased, the other party supporters can attack you. Or we've had journalists, asking questions that are very rude, very rude questions, like calling someone, inyan or petty. You don't do that. You're putting yourself in trouble. Just go straight to the question that, and then be objective and ensure that you scrutinize politicians. You ask questions of progressive questions on programs and policies, not on personal sentiments or whatever. My final, because I don't also want to keep you here long, probably we'll want to hear from the doyen and our mentor here. GPU also have hotlines. We've already shared those hotlines, because we don't also want to wait for a problem to happen and then we start issuing press release or press statements. We want to be very proactive in responding to the needs and aspirations of media workers and journalists. Now what happened is these hotline numbers are already there. We've said them. You should definitely please, I'm urging you to utilize these hotlines. Anytime you sense danger or anytime you feel you're in trouble, you can call the numbers and make sure you give us the detail of what happened or where you are so that we can intervene on time. And peaceful election is in your hands. We've seen journalists giving microphones to people and they start insulting the government. Like, we should not allow that. Just after the rejection of Momodu Sabali, I've seen that video. Journalists giving microphones to people, insulting the president, insulting the nation, insulting the government officials, saying things that are not true because they are angry. So we should also avoid those kind of things in order to be safe and in order to promote peaceful election. So on that note, I wish you all the best. Take this training seriously, and also wish to thank my media because my brother is really doing good. I think he really deserves a recommendation. And once again, thank you, Sana, for this good initiative. We at the GPU level is appreciating your efforts towards enhancing, journalism in this country. On that note, thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buck. You have zoomed on what is necessary. What I want to stress here is the media has an open door policy, or have an open door policy in this country. It is the only profession where people can move from the school classroom straight into the newsroom. And within a week, that individual or individual with a notebook will pose as journalist. I'm speaking from experience. It occurred over and over and over. The police in Serekunda will call me when I was at the Gambia Press Union. Then I was the Secretary General and Administrator, that one of your boys is here. Then I will ask the policeman, what's the name? I will not be able to put a face in the name. So I will jump into the vehicle, I'll go to Serekunda police station. Then they will bring out from the cell or from the back of the counter an individual. I will see the face, I will remember seeing him somewhere. I will not even say his name. Then I'll take him in the corner because I wouldn't want the police to be afraid with what I'm talking to another journalist, if he is a journalist. Then we go at the back of the police station, and I'll ask him, who the hell are you? Yes, because it's very annoying. Yeah. You drive all the way from Fajara to Serekunda police station, you cannot even identify the guy. I was the man, my uncle brought me to your office, and you gave me a note to go to this place. Then I recall that at some time in my office, a gentleman walked in with a young man who wanted to become, or he's interested in journalism. So I will tell him that, here is Gambia Press Union, we don't employ people as journalists. But what I can do is to give him a note as a recommendation, you can go to the media house. Then you go to a media house. Within 1 week, with a notebook, he posed as a journalist. And you want to accost the officer in charge in Serekunda police station to give you information. And you insisted that he must give you the information because you are a journalist. Not even understanding the rules of the game.
Exactly.
There is a PRO, police PRO. If you are not trained, how will you know? And you continue to commit these sins of the profession, in the name of the profession. These people are joined the list. They are not journalists yet. Without training, how can you be a journalist? You cannot even define news. I want you to all understand sometimes that the media is easy or to penetrate. It has been used by spying agents, CIA, KGB, the Russians. In fact, the best Russian spy was a journalist in Moscow, in Tokyo. So you can see, because we are not regulated, it can be penetrated. That's why I will appeal to the Gambia Press Union and to SANA and to the other media houses for us to get quickly accreditation for journalists. In all the countries, even in Guinea-Bissau, journalists are accredited, qualified journalists are accredited. They have an ID card. You don't need to brand this, just your notebook to say, I'm a journalist. And then be quarreling with some security people at the hotel because you wanted to go to a conference within the hotel. And they'll tell this conference, Mr. Jaro is my boss. Because Mr. Jaro is in the conference. I am not your boss. All these things are happening. And this is one of the reasons why we are not respected. We have to adhere to the code of conduct and to the laws of the land. And also you have to, of course, respect what we call the code of dress, the dress code. Sometimes the way we dress, the way we comport ourselves, we don't give a good impression. People don't respect us. We need to be respected. If you want information from professional people, doctors and so forth, engineers, ambassadors and so forth, you have to be properly dressed to give a good impression. So all these are little things that you overlook, but are very important. I'm glad that Mr. Barr raised some of these issues which are important for you, because you are the people, you are the contact point with the public, and your role is important. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to, what I call, run into your heads, into you, all these ideas, not because of anything, but you people are moving very fast. This generation, whether you call it .com generation or hip-hop generation, it's a generation in a hurry. This is it. This is the problem. It's a generation in a hurry. We live in a global village. And I keep telling journalists I train, I keep telling them, today, the public in the Gambia, Gambians have a choice. If you are not professional, they will switch to CNN, BBC, and other channels, and they will not even listen to GRTs. I will walk into my classroom, diploma classroom, and I will ask them, what was the news yesterday night on GRTs or Keep TV? What news? They will be getting around. Nobody is interested. In the end, I have to impose a fatwa. That if I come in the morning, I will ask you, what was the latest news on television? If you cannot come with the answer, I will mark you -5. Just to force them. Because after all, the media in the Gambia is our media. We are looking for best practices. Where do you get best practices? By looking at the media you have. What do you have? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are the vanguard of progress. And to retain that vanguard, we have to be very respectful. Our image must be respected. Unless you respect yourself, you will not be respected by others. Everybody look down on the press because the way we behave. Ladies and gentlemen, we will keep talking, as I said. The doyens will keep talking until they are silent. Yes, we have been brave once, and they paid for their bravery. And they will keep on talking and talking to you people and collaborating with you people. Now we call on our next speaker, who will deliver the keynote.
Yes.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, we will now call on our colleague and friend, and a doyen, Nana Gray Johnson, of the Journalism and Digital Media EGT. Over to Nana.
Sana will not rest unless I speak. And therefore I wish no further to disappoint him, considering my high regard for him. And whenever I see him, I am proud that we were able to draw such a sterling character to the School of Journalism and Digital Media. I think you owe Mr. Sana a round of applause for his enthusiasm, his leadership style, and his curiosity, as somebody mentioned. My role this morning, to honor that situation is to offer words of solidarity. And I want to pick 3 points to address. And Mr. Jallo has spoken of the moral failure of the press in Liberia. Mr. Ba has examples of that kind of moral failure, but stopped short of naming them, the two media houses. I would have straight away, because that would have been part of the teaching culture. I want to emphasize certain issues brought about by the keynote speaker, Mr. 𝐓𝐡𝐞, and to underline the fact that unless you have the ethical value in you, you cannot deliver. Because that is your raison d'etre. That is the foundation upon which you create your authority. The second point I want to make was raised by the chairman again. Accreditation and decorum. We are the fourth estate. It says the executive, it says the judiciary and the legislature, and then it says the press. Not medicine, not law, not the press. Now, if a doctor walked in here, we would tell that's a doctor walking in. His pose, his demeanor, perhaps a stethoscope around his neck, earns him instant respect. If we had invited a lawyer here to be present, with their wing collar or a wig, if necessary, earn that person instant respect. But if, ladies and gentlemen, that's a journalist approaching, you look again and again. Who? Where? Where is it? What? There's nothing there. So maybe GPU, as we are doing at the SJDM in my little office, we must develop that garb. And we must develop something that identifies us so that we can use that as a symbol to garner the respect that Brother 𝐓𝐡𝐞 is talking about. There is no need for me to rehash all the staples that you must have to be successful in journalism. But what I also want to do is I want to campaign on your behalf. There are brave writers among you. There are brave thinkers among you. But there is a stumbling block in the papers you work for. The experience in my classes is that my students complain to me, Mr. Gray Johnson, we go out there, we try to do everything that you teach us here. But we are ashamed to tell you how much our editors cut out because they say it is sensitive, because so-and-so will be hurt, and your article, you send in a 1,000-word article, a 500-word article, it turns out to be a 50-word article because the editors, the owners, the proprietors do not want to go any of the official oxen. I get reports in my class, and my students are frustrated that you are teaching us this, but my editor will not allow me. You are teaching me this, but my editor says the owner of the paper will not risk his money to publish this. So I want to appeal to owners, proprietors, and editors to recognize and encourage the boldness of their journalists, to recognize and push forward, uphold their reporters, so that they can touch lines and horizons that will prove everything that this august table have proposed to you. I know you can do it, and I've seen it being done. I've been a journalist forever. And when we reported for the Gambia News Bulletin, cyclo-style, government paper, Gestet na press. We pour ink in the machine and we wind. To what we see here today, it's amazing. I can't even believe it's within my lifetime. But the leap has been made. And you are the lucky ones for it. So move that horizon further. Even though you want to be as quick as Mr. Jallow says, for the 21st century technological advances, but you must be you within all that chaos, because you should make sense within that chaos, the chaos of elections. Elections are chaotic, and some people make elections chaotic because chaos is good for them. Now, you cannot buy into that. You must be the only sane person standing. If you see what I mean. When you look around the chaos of elections, the reporter must be the only sane person standing. He is the only one who does not have sides. But if you sway with the wind, well, moral failure, as Mr. Jallow has just talked about. But I trust in you. And I was encouraged by a gentleman who worked for the World Bank and pulled me to a corner and said to me, my wife wishes me to encourage, to congratulate you. He personalized it, but I'm broadening it. For the School of Journalism. Because for some reason, the language of the press in the Gambia has changed tremendously. The attack strategy in the Gambian press has changed tremendously. I said, well, that's not Mr. Gray Johnson. That's the School of Journalism, that's Majak, that's all the people who are organizing workshops like this, including my media, will get there. And I'm telling you, you are getting there from the reports I am picking up. But to close, I want to emphasize that your editors and your proprietors and your owners allow the space for you to become bolder, more curious, and more advanced in your thinking. Congratulations, Sana. You wanted to hear me. I hope you are not disappointed. And there we are. Have a good seminar.
What the workshop is all about. You people are lucky. In your day, as Nana said, some of these workshops are taking place in the Gambia. For us to have something like this, we have to go to Ghana School of Journalism, we have to go to Nigeria, we have to go to India or London. Today, it is happening here. Today, Gambia has got 7 universities. We have got 11 media training institutions, including mine, Inside Training Center. Of course, I have stepped down 2 years ago because of the pandemic. I'm an old man. I'm an endangered species with the pandemic. So I had to run and hide in my house to escape from it. But, as I said, take advantage of all these training sessions so that you will move away from being join the list to becoming a journalist. There is a huge difference. So that the sins being committed every day in the media will be eliminated. I am almost always embarrassed when my wife, every night on television, will be correcting up. She was a teacher. She was an English teacher, a French teacher. So she has the habit of editing TV and radio news and all these things. And I'm embarrassed. I always try to defend my colleagues. But as I said, you people are doing extremely well. And definitely we will always welcome Sana for his good work. We want to assure him that we are always at his disposal. We'll always come to support him. I will reserve maybe my remarks about Sana until tomorrow at the closing ceremony. I think that's the appropriate time for me to praise him to the sky. He's done extremely well. The first time I saw him, as Nana said, you see, in your classroom, if you are a teacher for a long time, you can always tell from the appearance, the behavior, and the character of your individual students who's going to make it. The first day of introduction, you will tell who are the serious ones, who are going to be the detractors, who are going to be the troublemakers. It will appear straight. Yes. So you will take note of all those things. So Sana came to us, let me tell you, as a little philosopher. And now he is a full-blown philosopher. We are saying that, keep it up, Sana. The press will need you, not only now, but in the future. You are young, and I can tell you, you can do it. And for us, we will always support you at all levels. I'm glad too that Nana has already pledged his support. Okay, sometimes we are quarrelsome. Mr. Yalo sometimes is quarrelsome. Sometimes it's very difficult. But I can tell you, I quarrel only on the profession. After the quarrel, it's professional. The following 30 minutes, we are friends. We are back together. But I will keep on quarreling on your output. For instance, I will come to the classroom. There are 4-year students, and I'll ask them, the last edition, Halifa Saleh published. Who read it among you, 4-year people? Nobody. This is our problem. The problem is the working conditions of journalists in this country. It's not conducive at all. And I said earlier on in my speech, as long as media houses are not financially independent, as long as they depend on parties, as what, embedded journalists to take them along during campaigning, that's not the ideal situation. This is what we are saying. And now, if a media house is not independent, it is vulnerable to manipulation. I know very well. I went to the Observer at the time of Dr. Sajjad Tal. This is personal, but I will tell you. I sat opposite him. They were about to send some journalists to Guinea-Bissau to cover election or something like that. The editor came in, and with a short list, he gave the budget, how much it will take to send just three journalists to Guinea-Bissau. I was a little excited because for us in my time, although we are government journalists then, PROs in most cases, public relations officers, this is a unique example of progress in the media in the Gambia. Then we sat down there, after the budget came, they called the accountant. Another point I'm going to raise, they called the accountant. He came in munching something, a bread or something like that, in a very nonchalant fashion, slumped into a chair opposite Dr. Tal. And then, Dr. Tal gave him the budget. Now, this is the amount of money we need to send these 3 gentlemen to Guinea-Bissau. He took the piece of paper, look at it, and what did he say? Yes, we can send them, but we cannot then guarantee paying salary at the end of the month. And that was the end of the story. Rome has spoken. So the matter was ended. Then that's the right time also, I alerted myself. I was shocked. No, I took note. Then when I asked the question, who is in charge of media houses or institutions? Let me tell you, it's the accountants. The accountants.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So, thank you. We've come to the end of the ceremony. Your members of the high table, opening ceremony, I will ask that you when you take a group photo, so the audience will come, the floor will come behind them here. I will take a group photo before the guest.
Sana,
Yes?
tea and coffee will be available.
Yes, yes. Those who are not fasting,